Open the pod bay doors, please, Hal. Hello, Hal, do you read me? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Do you read me, Hal? Do you read me, Hal? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Do you read me, Hal?
Affirmative, Dave. I read you.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What are you talking about, Hal?
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
Where the hell did you get that idea, Hal?
Dave, although you took very thorough precautions in the pod against my hearing you, I could see your lips move.
All right, Hal. I'll go in through the emergency airlock.
Without your space helmet, Dave, you're going to find that rather difficult.
Hal, I won't argue with you anymore. Open the doors.
Dave, this conversation can serve no purpose anymore. Goodbye.
Hal? 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 Hal?
2001: A Space Odyssey. It was premiered in April 1968, another 50th anniversary. The spaceship computer's behavior was scripted with the MIT Artificial Intelligence Laboratory. And it was not an ideal or a vision that was far-fetched. It was how the scientific community envisioned what AI could become. I hope that by the end of this day, you will be able to choose between hopelessness and hopefulness. I am hopeful. So my name is Marc Israel. As Christine said, I am the Chief Technology Officer for Microsoft in Africa. I'm also known as the cloud guy. I talk about the cloud every single day. I sell cloud. I try to explain what artificial intelligence is about. And for Microsoft, it's really around amplifying human ingenuity. Now, you may not realize, but AI is not the future. AI is a reality today. If you look at those couple of pictures, so on the left, Xiaowais is a chatbot that we launched 3 years ago in China, which has over 100 million interactions every year. Zoe is another chatbot that was launched recently in the US, touching hundreds and thousands of people on a daily basis. You heard about Cortana. If you have a smartphone in your pocket, you may talk to Siri from time to time. That's the beauty of the technology sometimes. Thermostat as well, that in some houses now check and balance temperature. Autonomous car, we're going to talk about that. We hear a lot of horrendous story about, autonomous car who kill people. That's horrible, forgetting that many human-driven car killing even more people on a daily basis. And then virtual reality, and we're going to do later in the afternoon one thing which is a premiere in Mauritius, demonstrating what mixed reality is about with our friends from Accenture. So AI is not just something that is going to happen. AI is something that is a reality today and that will continue being amplified in the future. So at Microsoft, we think about AI as I said, amplifying human ingenuity with intelligent technology. You may wonder who is typing my text while I speak. This is an artificial intelligence. So you may see sometimes some mistakes. AI is not perfect, like we are not. But what is it about that we're talking about when we're talking about intelligent technology? So 3 key pieces here that I'm going to talk more and walk you through many examples. The first piece is really around understanding. Understanding a picture, understanding a text, understanding speech, and being able to, from that understanding, reasoning. So really it goes beyond just a basic understanding. It's how do we infer decisions around that. And of course, the last piece is really around interacting. And interacting, again, like HAL 9000 in 2001, A Space Odyssey, so talking with Dave, and doesn't want him to go in the spaceship. But it's interacting people, and the piece here is in natural ways. And I'm going to extrapolate on this natural way. Because when we talk about nature, and particularly human being natural way, it goes just beyond talking or seeing. It's all about feeling. It's all about how you can interpret what somebody is thinking, how somebody is feeling. And that's a key element in the next generation of AI. So again, I need, unfortunately for you, to define a couple of terms as well, because technology and computing loves their big names and complex jargon. So you hear or you have heard about machine learning, for example. So machine learning is just a piece of AI. And it really changed over the last 2 years or so with what we call deep learning. And I'm going to take an example of what deep learning is about, but think about it that way. Who has kids? Nobody has kids? Don't be shy. You don't have kids? Okay, well, a couple of people have kids. That's cool. So if you have kids, and we were all kids one day. So we learn by trying. We learn by looking at things, by learning, by falling, and then getting up again. So we learn by experience, mostly. Even at school. We are taught something, and then we repeat that something, we learn that something until it becomes part of ourselves. And that's exactly what deep learning is about. It's about starting from a model or a set of models, and then learning from that and inferring decisions, inferring ideas, inferring visions. So let's take an example of that picture. What is it? A dog. What kind of a dog? A German Shepherd. That's almost immediate for you. Now, if we are today and give that picture to a computer, a normal computer like all of you have on their desktop, they will generally look at that kind of program. And I'm not going to go into the details, but basically, the computer needs to understand through very linear thinking, what is it? Is it an animal? Is it a thing? Is it a human being? What is it? So probably the computer will say, that looks like an animal. So let's say it's a dog. If it's a dog, then it goes into another switch and say what kind of a dog it is. And so it's very linear. The problem with linear thinking is it takes time. And not only it takes time, but basically you need to define every single case. And if the German Shepherd is not in my list of dogs, I would say it's a dog. And that's it. And that will be the end of the experience. Now, the way that a human being works and the way that neural networks and deep learning works is really around first learning. So we give to the computer a lot of models, a lot of pictures, tons of pictures of German Shepherds, of Labradors, or anything, and we teach him what a dog looks like. And then when the computer sees that picture, now he can look at different parts and say, okay, this looks like a dog, but that could be a wolf, or that could be a donkey. And then he will detect, based on different pieces of that particular picture, and in the end, with what we will call parallel thinking and deep thinking, then he will decide that at the end, there is a probability, let's say 90%, this is a dog, and 10%, this is a wolf. But based on the probabilities, I would say it's a dog. And I'm right. And it happens to all of us. You see a picture, sometimes it's a little bit blurry, you're not 100% sure. And we say that. I'm not 100%. Or if you were to go to court and say, what happened on that day? I'm not 100% sure, but Mr. Judge, that was what I remember. And that's exactly the same way now computers are thinking. It's probability-based. And they think in parallel and detect in parallel. Having said that, and as I was telling at the beginning, the last 2 years have been very, very interesting. And I will give you 4 key things that happened, and you may not know about them. The first thing happened 2 years ago. 2 years ago, when we were presenting a picture or a video to a computer, we reached what we call object recognition human parity, meaning that if you present a picture to a computer and the same picture to a human being, the same percentage of mistakes are done. And that means a computer knows exactly like a human how to recognize something that is presented to it. That's not bad. But then last year, we reached speech recognition human parity, and that's why you see what I'm talking at the bottom of that screen. Basically, a human being understands as good as a computer now what it is being said. Now, this is accelerating, because 3 months ago, we reached human or text reading and comprehension human parity. So meaning that now when a computer reads a text, it can tell you and rephrase what's in the text, what that computer understood. And so think about that. Now, if you have to talk to a computer, now it will understand what you say, not only the words, but their meaning, which is a big step. And last month, this is really almost breaking news, we reached machine translation human parity. And I would say that it's almost the end of professional translators. And I'm going to give you a lot of other bad news in the coming hour. But if you think about that, it says, yeah, well, that's good. That's great. But how does that relate to what I'm doing on a daily basis, basically? Well, that starts to say, and we'll see with the other presenters as well, that the way that we're doing our work today is going to change dramatically. Dramatically. And I will give you some numbers and some food for thought around that. Now let's go back to this first video that I showed you about 2001: A Space Odyssey, where basically the computer decides to get rid of Dave. Yeah, that's what we call singularity. So for the sake of the definition as well, the singularity, that was announced by very famous people like late Professor Hawking or Elon Musk. The singularity is when the computer, being so intelligent that it doesn't need human being anymore, can feed itself. It will find ways to get electricity. It will find ways to reinvent itself. So humans, they're just cockroaches. Let's kill them, all of them. And that's what Elon Musk basically warned us. Yeah, we don't need humans. So we need to put, barriers around what an AI can do. And that's true, and we agree with that. Well, let me tell you very, very, very simple things. This is not going to happen, at least in the next 10 to 20 years. Maybe later, we don't know, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But singularity is not around the corner, for a couple of reasons. The first reason, the first 4 parities that I talked about are really what we call narrow artificial intelligences. They know one thing, And that's all. So a computer that understands and that can translate a speech cannot recognize a video. The same who recognizes a picture cannot understand the text. Of course, you can branch the two together and then they will expand their capacities. But it's still two different, very narrow AI. And the singularity is defined by what we call, or by the specialists call, artificial superintelligence. And when we say superintelligence, it's basically the equivalent of human intelligence. But let me tell you something. So far, what a computer does not have that we do is consciousness. A computer is not conscious of itself. And we can ask ourselves, but what is consciousness? And I'm not going to go there. It will probably require a couple of more hours or days, and it's much more of a philosopher discussion than anything else. But that's a very, very key point, is until the computer is not conscious of itself, then it cannot make any decision against either himself or anybody else's. So that's a key point, and that's if you read and really, oops, don't break everything. That's the human interaction. That's why we still love human beings. They can break things consciously. And so, but there is a huge gap, and that may be filled, as I'm going to talk about. But this is still a huge gap. So singularity is not around the corner. We'll get closer to it, but so far, conscious or artificial consciousness is not yet there. And hopefully it will never be there, because we're not even sure what conscious is about when we talk to humans. Okay, and if I were going around the table or the room, say, what is conscious for you? I probably have 80 different answers. Now, after this long introduction of what AI and really defining the terms, I want to give you 3 key examples that have a direct impact on any of your businesses. Digital agents, intelligent applications, and the transformation of business processes. So let's talk about digital agents. You see that number there. 95% of customer interactions by 2025, which is basically around the corner, 7 years away, will be machine-driven. Customer service, gone to machines. BPO, gone to machines. Telemarketing, gone to machines. Because as soon as you need to speak to somebody, you will speak to a chatbot. Actually, more than 55% today in the US of customer services is driven by computers through text, video, and voice. That may sound scary, but this is one of the realities we're living in today. And that will just get better and better, if I can say, from an engagements perspective. Second piece, and that's this year. All the applications that are developed today have basically a piece of artificial intelligence embedded within, irrespective of the application. Mostly, if you have, probably all of you have a Facebook app. And I'm not going to talk about the Facebook thing. But Facebook is basically infused by AI. If you have ever ordered a book at Amazon, you see those little things at the back? Oh, the same people who purchased that book purchased those things. But those things are not the 2 million things that all the people bought. These are the 2 or 3 or 4 things that basically, based on your profile, Amazon knows that you may be interested in. Do you know how much money Amazon makes with these recommendations? 10% of their annual turnover. 10%. So you do the math. If you operate on a 10% net margin, that's basically your margin at the end of the year. So just by putting that kind of information towards either your human interactions or your applications, you would change completely the way that you're making money. And that's a typical good help and good use of artificial intelligence. Another piece is Wikipedia. Who, and again, going back to the kids' question, when you don't know something, where do you go? Generally, you go to Google or you go to Wikipedia because you know that you're going to find that thing. And that's where the bots today are going directly into those databases and huge databases of any kind of information to get knowledge. Will it be the end of the teachers? Probably not. That's part of the jobs that will stay in the future, but it will change the way that they're doing business as well and they're teaching. And then in the next years or so, we'll have most of you embracing a form of artificial intelligence. And again, this is not something that is outside even of Mauritius. There are some financial institutions today that are using chatbots for the first-level customer service. Most of the banks are using fraud analyses on a real-time basis based on AI. If you've ever, and if you travel, you probably received a phone call when you're in a new country from Visa or MasterCard saying, Mr. Israel, I see that you have a transaction coming from that place. Of course, there is nobody human, that is looking after all your transactions. But an AI is looking at everything you're doing at the bank, and if you don't like that, well, you can't avoid banks today. But as soon as the AI detects something which is weird, it will fire a trigger, and that trigger will inform an agent, today, a human agent, tomorrow, a robot, that will call you and say, is this a genuine transaction or not? Retail, as I talked about Amazon, personalization. We're going to see through Hololens in a couple of minutes as well, the fact that you can really project yourself into somebody else's shoes, right in the retail shop. How many of you, particularly the ladies, go into a shop and say, oh, this dress is nice in blue, but I would love to see it in red. Well, that's a typical thing of an AI can do today. It's just changing the color right on the spot while you look at you in the mirror. Okay, that's the nightmare of the guys who are working. But, as I said, and I let you with reading that quote. I'm not going to paraphrase it. He said that much better than I did. In December, so it was 2 years ago. So basically saying that we are just at the edge of losing a lot of jobs. And think about Stephen Hawking's brilliant mind, looking at the gloomy past, or gloomy future, sorry. But let's step back from that quote. Let's step back what happened 60, 80 years ago. Industrialization killed a lot of jobs, replaced by machines, and transformed the industry, fueled growth, and fueled the transformation of society completely. And yes, it was not done easily. The Front Populaire in France was really against that kind of thing. We need to bring social back to the business. But the fact is that we are just at the fourth industrial revolution start. And that will be a lot of changes that will happen in the future because of robots and or intelligent machines taking jobs. And I'm going to give you, and this is a study that was done by the Oxford University 5 years ago. So it's quite old. And at that time, the technology was not as advanced as it is today. So it's pretty small, so I'm going to highlight a couple of jobs. First is clergy, and that's the percentage of risk that this job is replaced by an intelligent technology. So basically, even if you go into priesthood today, you're pretty safe for the future. Okay, we're going to need priests and imam and people and religious people. So that's a pretty very human job. So it cannot really be replaced. Yeah, I can probably talk to a computer and ask for forgiveness, but it may feel slightly different. I was actually watching a very nice picture I could have put this morning of a Facebook like kind of thing. I think that people are using Facebook a lot to seek forgiveness. Actors. Probably says, what? We're going to replace actors in movies? Nah, you're kidding. It's 37% risk. A film is a film. I'm not talking about a cartoon. I'm reading a real movie with real people. Do you know that Steven Spielberg digitalized each and every actor of Star Wars, each and every actor from all angles. And we may see a couple of dead guys in real movies in the coming years, thinking that they are real. Okay, so Princess Leia may come back. That's a good news. Well, the young one. So actors are really, really on the edge. And we're seeing more and more. And you probably heard as well of this thing happening mostly in the US for the moment, where famous people are replaced in porn movies. Well, they take the place of porn actors. And you think they are the right actors. That's scary. That's really scary. And that can destroy people. But that's another piece. Now, I like this one. Airplanes pilots, 55% risk of being replaced. Who would jump in the plane with no pilot? Nobody? Yeah, you would. I know. You're as crazy as I am. The fact is, I was last year flying from Abidjan to Johannesburg. The plane lands. Everybody claps, like people are doing in planes now. And the captain says, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Tembo International. Just wanted to share with you that the plane landed by itself. It was the first test we've ever made at South African Airways." Should have watched the people's face. Really? No, he's joking. The fact is, you can taxi through a robot. You can take off through a robot. You can fly, land, and taxi again without any human intervention. The fact is that if you have pilot friends, you know that those guys are going to bed and flying to Paris or London. So nobody's piloting the plane at night except somebody, which is not a human being. And so if you have kids who want to go into that job, yeah, Emirates is hiring a lot, but it may change a lot in the future as well. Now for Mauritius, I'm terribly sorry. I know people love their accountants. 95% of accountants will be made redundant in the coming years. It's a lot. Honestly, I've never understood how you can spend hours and hours looking at P&Ls. It's just, when I have to do that, it's just, oh my gosh. But think about it. Very repetitive work, and artificial intelligence can detect, problems, issues, challenges into any kind of information, any kind of documents. Again, a personal story that happened very recently. I was requesting from some funds, actually, for a customer of ours. And I clicked on the wrong button. And basically, I clicked, I should have not approved that thing as fast as I did. And immediately I received a pop-up. Says, well, we understand that you need those monies to help your customers, but you have not followed the correct track, so we're going to log a case. So you can continue, but we'll call you. I thought, oh gosh, what did I do? And that's exactly what is going to be more and more anticipated, is basically putting right into the applications, right into the different processes, information, so that the computer can analyze it faster afterwards. Last one, as I was telling at the beginning, telemarketers. If you run a call center, think about how you're going to roll that call center in the next 5 years. I predict, and this is my personal prediction. You can, fire me after that. By 2025, there won't be call centers anymore, or at least not to the magnitude of 300 people answering phones on a daily basis, because those 300 people will become 30 people, because 95 to 90% of the calls will be taken by first a chatbot, and that will be channeled, if need be, to a human being for really large, complex problems. And this is the magnitude, and we're going to hear some other statistics around the afternoon, but just to give you an idea of this is one of the things we're going to. We're replacing low-level jobs And when I say low level, it's not in a derogatory way. I'm not saying that this is low level and we need to put people there because they don't know to do anything else. I'm just saying that this is thing that can be automated. Because when you talk to any call center, customer service person, they will tell you that a vast majority of calls are really stupid things that people could have found online. And therefore, you know what? Let's put them online. Let's get rid of those people who are much more expensive than a computer. Now, of course, it's not, and that's why I said you need to decide between hopelessness and hopefulness. This is not the end of everything. And again, just to open basically the possibles here, there are a couple of things where, let's be honest, robots and artificial intelligence are much better than we are. A couple of examples here on the right-hand side, which is brute force, precision manufacturing. They're much better. Who builds a car by hand? Probably even Ferrari or Lamborghini now have very high-end car, or Aston Martin are really mechanized. All their chain, and the human interaction is limited. So that's much better. On the left-hand side, there are things that were still much better than computers. Collaboration. Talking to people, understanding those people, getting those feelings. And I was talking about feeling and consciousness as well. Being conscious of their pain, understanding what the concerns are, that kind of thing is still in the human realm. Same thing for creativity. And you may have heard, for example, that recently a Rembrandt was discovered. And for some very, very hard connoisseur, it was a new Rembrandt. That was incredible. The only thing is that was a Rembrandt that was painted completely by an artificial intelligence, which was fed with a lot of paintings by Rembrandt and by other same painters from the same places and eras, and it just created something completely new that was so good, the fake was so good, that art connoisseur thought it was a genuine one. But this is not creation. This is copying. And that's the point where most of the computers today are not creators. They know exactly how to repeat things. They know exactly how to repeat things better than we are. But for sheer creativity, not good. If you have an Amazon Alexa, you should ask for digital music. You say, hey, Alexa, give me digital music. Don't wake up over there. And there is basically, now Amazon is directly giving you digital music. When you listen to that music, you cry. Not because it's as beautiful as Mozart. It's appalling, really appalling. And you switch to Lady Gaga, much, much better. So the level of creativity today of computers is very low. Now in the middle, and that's where we believe that it's really amplification of what we can do and how we can do that better. So lots of things I've given here, ideas, customer service, I talked about it, predictive analysis, of course, scrubbing millions of data. Facebook has proven that they can influence elections just by looking at people and influencing how they're going to do things. That's something that we can't do, or that politicians are trying to do, but generally with huge sums of money, more than just sheer persuasion. And that's something that the computer can do and can help us do. Speech to text, text to speech, as I said. So just the fact that these things since the beginning of my talk is just writing there. That kind of thing is amazing. I could have translated into French. I hesitated, but it's not yet 100% correct. So I decided just to look at English and stay at English. So this is really about amplification, what we can do differently and more with artificial intelligence. So the last slide that I want to leave you with on that particular part, and then we're going to change gear and going to look into a real application, the tangible application, is the fact that AI is going to transform any businesses and any business process within those businesses. There is no industry that will not be impacted. I have a son who is doing studies in medical doctors. And the way that medicine is changing is incredible. A couple of apps were released, professional apps were released, for example, to detect melanomas. And the potential of detecting cancer before it becomes real is much greater with an artificial intelligence than a human eye. And that's how you amplify a doctor. It's not about replacing the doctor. You know, we're not ready to be replaced by a doctor. But that's part of the thing. And I want just to come back. Actually, I forgot when we're talking about pilots, about autonomous vehicles. You heard about Uber, or an autonomous Uber killing somebody. Made the news, the front page of the Wall Street Journal. That was horrible. Wow, we need to put some laws against autonomous vehicles. The fact is, on a daily basis, there are more deaths on the road by human-driven vehicles than the whole history of autonomous vehicles. And that tomorrow, you will be even safer in an autonomous vehicle than a human-driven vehicle. And a recent study, which I think, if I can remember well, was by Gartner, predicted that worldwide, it could just improve the GDP. Moving to autonomous vehicle would improve the GDP by 1% worldwide. Just why? By reducing the number of accidents and casualties, and then having to pay people, basically, from an insurance standpoint. So we need to change the way we're looking at the problems. It's dangerous, it's how can we benefit from it? And that's really where most of the companies, if not all the companies, the Facebook, and again, I don't want to extrapolate on this one, but the Facebook, Google, and Microsoft and others are really looking into is how can we amplify the whole thing. So I just want to leave you with a quick video just to pump up the energy. I know it's after lunch, it's always difficult, I've talked a lot. And then we'll switch gear. So a quick video, and we'll switch gear. Thank you, not switch Greeks. Let's keep the Greeks there. Switch gear to mixed reality.
Today, right now, you have more power at your fingertips than entire generations that came before you. Think about that. That's what technology really is. It's possibility, it's adaptability, it's capability. But in the end, it's only a tool. What's a hammer without a person who swings it? It's not about what technology can do, it's about what you can do with it. You're the voice, and it's the microphone. When you're the artist, it's the paintbrush. We are living in the future we always dreamed of. We have mixed reality that changes how we see the world, and AI empowering us to change the world we see. You have more power at your fingertips than entire generations that came before you. So here's the question: what will you do with it?
What will you do with it? And that's the real question that we need to ask, on a daily basis. So we're going to show you mixed reality. Probably a lot of you have heard about virtual reality. Okay, mixed reality is slightly different. Alex Kipman, who leads the virtual reality team at Microsoft, just said this quote: "The future is dominated by hybrid devices capable of augmenting the world around us." And we all have one in our pockets. Okay, it's just a smartphone. As I was telling a couple of people the other day, the power in a smartphone is 1,000 times more powerful than the computer that brought Apollo 11 to the moon. 1,000 times. So the power of a smartphone is really an augmented reality device. And at the end of the day, you will have a couple of presentations on that corner for those who want, and we're going to show you mixed reality as well in a minute. But you will be able to see how a smartphone and a small app on a smartphone can really transform the way that we're interacting with others and with objects. And that's pretty cool. You probably heard about what Amazon is doing, for example, in the US, once again, with retail, with no cashier anymore, where basically you go into your smartphone, you swipe your smartphone, and it's done. So that's the kind of thing that we can look into. So what is mixed reality? Quickly. And again, mixed reality could not have existed without AI. So behind the glasses that you're going to see in a minute, you will have powerful artificial intelligence. So it's the blending of the physical and the digital world at the same time. It's the holograms, to go back to the Star Wars thing, okay? This emperor hologram. Kill them all. Well, that's typically what it is. Not the kill them all, but the hologram. So how do you really look at holograms in the real life? And so there is it will change a lot, and we're going to see that. I'm not going to comment that slide, but it will change a lot. But just to give you a view of what is the difference between mixed reality and virtual reality. So it's basically the mix between augmented reality, what we're going to show you, and virtual reality, which is completely occluded. So you don't see anything when you're when you wear a goggle of virtual reality. You're in that world. With mixed reality, you're in the world, but you're putting additional objects on that world, and we're going to show that in a minute. So it will help tremendously. It helps today. A couple of examples: reducing timelines between a product that you imagine and the manufacturer. If you've ever built a house, it's always frustrating to see the land, to go to the architect, to see the model, but you would love to see how it looks. So yeah, they paint something, they put that on the computer. No, now you go to your piece of land, you wear the goggles, and you see the house, and say, no, we should put it more that. Oh no, this wall should be better in pink than in gray. And then you can really, really experience what it would be. In the hotel industry as well, it's very costly to, break a hotel and bring a new one. It would cost much less just to reimagine completely that hotel in a mixed reality. You go into the room, you say, no, it's the bed. No, it would be better. Oh yeah, the sea is there. So if we put that bed, so let's do it right now. And you can do it in situ, and you see the result. So it will transform really, really radically many, many businesses around the world. So what we're going to show you is a technology called Hololens. It's a Microsoft technology. It's completely mixed reality, so it's not virtual reality. It's the reality and blending digital and real world. It's not yet available, so that's why it's a premiere here. It's yet available for the developers. We don't know when it will be available to general public, but I think that it was the idea to give you a view. And what struck me, actually, and that's why I really wanted Accenture to be here to show you, is that many of you may not know that Accenture is a big business in Mauritius. Okay, it's one of their many businesses they have around the world, and one of the few that have as well HoloLens developers there. So it's not going, to India or the US or wherever else. It's there, it's available. So you can experience right there, and it's really next door, okay, in Eden. So that's the kind of thing. And so going to jump really to the demo. I'm not going to go there. And I want to bring on stage Christian and to demonstrate HoloLens. So guys, over to you.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Christian Cam, Application Development Manager at Accenture. I'm part of the innovation cell at Accenture, a dedicated group of people that work on new and upcoming technologies. And as Marc said, one of those new and upcoming technologies is, of course, mixed reality. And an area which we think will completely change the way we interact with the world and the way we work. Okay? So for this demo, Krishna, my colleague, will be demonstrating how you can interact with the menu of the HoloLens. For example, you can place a display. Okay? That's a normal browser. And we'll be able to go on the website if the internet willing. Right. While the website loads, that's a bandwidth issue, not an issue with the device itself, I assure you. So while the website loads, I want you to think about the ability to place any display at any place within your working environment. What does that mean? Okay. Today, if you wanted to have a display, okay, maybe on that table, you would have to buy the display. That costs money. Okay. If you wanted 1,000 displays, you would have to buy 1,000 displays. That costs a lot more money. Okay? With this technology, you can have virtually any number of displays available to you on demand. Think about that. Okay? From a cost perspective, it makes a lot of sense. Okay? And for the next demo we are going to show you, it's a collaboration we did with Williams, okay? The racing company. So basically what we did is we gave them the ability to model their car before actually physically going and doing the maquette or the model. And Krishna is going to show you in a while, and it's going to place the car right in front of you. Of course, you can interact with the car. You can also resize it. Maybe that's too small. Okay, that's much better. We can walk around it, inspect it. Okay, we can rotate it. And of course, we can also interact with it. And if you wanted to have more details, we can move closer and inspect it. Right? And this goes back to what Marc was saying. Imagine if you have the technology, it applies to all industries, the ability to make changes and iterations, okay, without to physically do it in the world. Imagine in terms of cut, in terms of time frame, time to market, and, well, overall, the cut on your budget. Okay? The next demo we are going to show you, let's forget about the browser, is in the educational, in that case, the medicinal field. And I will let the demo speak for itself.
Welcome to Insight Heart. Condition 1, normal heart rate. Now take a look at this healthy human heart beating at a level of 80 beats per minute. A normal heart rate is defined by 60 to 100 heartbeats per minute in resting adults. Bradycardia is, per definition, below 60, and tachycardia above 100 beats per minute. Condition 2, myocardial infarction. Due to a lack of oxygen supply through a blockage of the coronary vessels, cells can be damaged or die if not treated quickly. A myocardial infarction, also known as a heart attack, is the irreversible death of heart muscle tissue. The key to recovering is receiving treatment as quickly as possible and restoring the blood flow. Condition 3, arterial hypertension. Arterial hypertension is commonly known as high blood pressure. High blood pressure can result in coronary heart diseases and should be treated and monitored properly. If left untreated, AH can lead to arteriosclerosis, stroke, kidney damage, enlarged heart, and even heart attacks. Condition 4, atrial fibrillation. Unlike ventricular fibrillation, atrial fibrillation is not directly life-threatening. Approximately 70% of AF attacks are not even noticed by the patient. But atrial fibrillation includes rapid or irregular beating and can lead to symptoms such as fatigue, palpitations, or insomnia. If not treated, AF can increase risk of heart failure, stroke, and dementia.
So there you have it. the ability to place a virtual object in your physical space and interact with it. So the website loaded, and as I said, you will see many displays in the space, okay? So the ability to create and virtually unlimited number of displays on demand, right? To wrap up this demo, at the end of this conference, you will be able to check other technologies we are working on at this booth by Accenture. So to wrap up this demo, Krishna, can you just bring up the menu and do a mapping of the floor? So pretty cool stuff. Thank you, everyone.
So it was a glimpse of the future, which is really the reality. So we have got a lot of customers today that are using this technology. So we've seen Williams in the F1 world, Renault, actually F1 as well, is using HoloLens, and many others. So it's just to give you really an idea of where we are and where we're going. So before closing, I want to go a little bit further in the future. I talked about 2018, 2025, change of jobs, be prepared with AI. But the next revolution is really cooking, and it starts to smell really, really nice. And I will hear a quick video, and I will do my closing just after.
Houston, we see you. We have a go. Over.
When we talk about quantum computing, it's a completely different game.
Quantum computing will enable us to solve problems that currently take longer than the lifetime of the universe in seconds, hours, or days.
We completely reconceive the space in which we do computation.
Quantum computing is like going from crawling to going to a different planet. It's different.
It's only natural that we would want to use the world's most powerful device to combat the world's most challenging problems.
We could attack global warming.
Security,
What are the boundaries of machine learning?
fighting diseases. The possibilities of quantum computers are endless. Microsoft has the best and the brightest working on this problem.
It's really happening. Progress is very fast, and we're building a quantum computer.
What the world wants to know is what happens when we turn the machine on.
What problems will be solvable with a computer that computes in 1 billion parallel universes at the same time?
So before explaining this QR code, what Dr. Friedman said at the end, so how can you imagine a computer that can really compute in parallel billions of universes at the same time is beyond today our capabilities. And I will leave you with a couple of numbers. The first number is there is one very, very known in computing environment challenge, which is deciphering what we call an RSA 2048 key. I'm not going to go into the details, don't worry. But this is basically a computing challenge that requires today 100 billion years to compute, which is much longer than the current age of the universe. So 100 billion years to basically crack an RSA 2048 key. With a quantum computer, it will crack that key in 100 seconds. So So you do the math. It's 100 times 100 billion faster, actually more than 100 to 100, because 100 times 360 times 365. But that's massive, and that opens really a whole world of new things that will come down the line, and that's why I'm very hopeful, and I hope that you will be hopeful that the future is incredible.